Welcome back. What is foreign direct investment? In a very simple term, we can explain in a layman's terminology that it is an investment that a foreign company makes an active investment in a local business. This is contrasted with FII. Foreign direct investment is basically FDI. And for instance, if you look at this example, that if a motor company from US purchase or make some invest some money that he makes in the US market and runs an other company, that is counted as FDI. It must be two different nations basically, that the money has been pumped from one country to the another country. The money flows from one country to the another country. Suppose the US company is dumping some money to India's company and actively manage and run it. This is basically a foreign direct investment in local term, in basic terms. And some types of FDI is generally a greenfield FDI and a brownfield FDI. Build a completely new factory or a business, the best kind, it creates a new jobs. If a factory is a motor company, if set up a factory in India, it is counted from a US, it is counted as FDI. Some famous technological giant like Google, Microsoft, Facebook, Amazon all have set up a new establishment in India, and these all are counted as regarded as FDI. Buy an existing business and grow it. This is called a brownfield FDI. They bought an existing business in those cases and they are growing it. That helps to get a new technology and the business innovations. For instances, a Europe company or some US company who train those Indian skilled laborers and gaining those ideas from the rest of the world, and some of those experts moved to the Indian companies and passed on the best practices is called as brownfield FDI. What are the benefits? It creates a new jobs, brings high paying, and bring the new technology, or you can say hire those technology, incorporate those technology from abroad to local areas and create a new market space. Increase those exports by those companies. When Hyundai set up a factory in Chennai, they immediately had an idea for those export policies, and they already had a base in Southeast Asia, and they used the Indian factory to export there. It's much better for Hyundai to export those cars from India than Tata to export, as Tata does not have as many foreign dealers or bases. Another example is in the technological, wherever Microsoft or Google makes in India is automatically exported to the rest of the world, and it's bring a new dollars. In India, it's always a short of foreign currency, and FDI can help us with the new dollars and enable us for a better purchased oil and other imports. If you see the drawbacks of FDIs, some foreign companies will have more control over the domestic market. Some security analysts fear that letting Huawei, for example, control India's telecom industry can weaken India in a potential conflict with China. Foreign companies might have less incentive to develop those domestic market and domestic labor, as this is not their country. Overall, the benefit of FDI is far more than its drawback. It is such a not a major issue, because the local businessman who got used to providing those substandard product or service, they will lose. In India, customer service is often a joke and adulteration is rampant. Some of those businessmen will lose out against better competitors. In recent fact has been established from a reputed organization, and this is impact that the global FDI flows has been fall out by 38% due to corona pandemic. The global FDI has been decreased by 38% in 2020 to US $846 billion, their lowest level since 2005. Inflows to the foreign direct investment for the area of Organization of Economic Cooperation and Development has been decreased by 51%. This is partly due to the significant disinvestment from the Switzerland and the Netherlands. The outflow from the OECD area decreased by 48% to historically low levels not seen since 2005. It is largely influenced by the major investment by the companies in the Netherlands. The FDI inflows to non-OECD G20 economies only decreased by merely 9% due to rebounds in China and India later in the year. The FDI outflows across a number of non-OECD G20 economies dropped by 49%. The China overlooked the United States as the top destination for the FDI worldwide. India and Luxembourg, excluding the resident special purpose entities, trailed them as large FDI recipient. Luxembourg, US and Japan are the largest source of FDI outflows. The United States has remained largely stable, but Japan, China, which follows, have seen a reduction on their FDI outflows in the last year. The rebound in cross-border activities, which started in the second half of 2020 and that continues in the first quarter of 2021 in advanced economy. Many deals in the healthcare and technology sector could boost the FDI equity flows in 2021 unless further major disinvestment take place in 2021. The latest FDI data has been released with the detailed information on inward and outward FDI flows and estimate that the global FDI flows have been plummeted to 846 billion US dollar, and you can see that the pandemic accelerated the steady decline and contributed to sinking the global FDI flows to their lowest level since 2005. In 2020, the global FDI flows represented only 1% of the world GDP, their lowest level since 1999. The mostly resulting from those major disinvestment from the Switzerland and the Netherlands, the sales of existing stakes in companies residing in those two countries and the foreign top to large and the parents to decrease those FDI in US and other OECD countries. The China overtook the United States as the top destination of FDI worldwide for the second time 6 years on. These two economies welcome those FDI flows worth US $212 billion and US $177 billion respectively. India and Luxembourg has trailed behind as the next largest recipient of FDI. FDI outflows from the OECD areas decreased by 48% in 2020 as of US 425 billion US dollar, their lowest data since 2005. Amount 62% of global FDI outflows compared to 70% in 2019. These differences are mostly driven by the large negative outflows from the Netherlands and by major declines in Germany and Japan from high value levels in 2019. 18 other OECD countries recorded decrease in FDI outflows exceeding US $30 billion in Canada and Ireland, with later also recording the negative outflows. Austria, Norway, and UK recording the negative outflow too. In contrast with FDI outflows reach record heights in Luxembourg, doubled in Sweden, and switched from negative to positive level in Switzerland. Outflows from the United States remain relatively stable. FDI outflows from G20 economies decreased by 43%. They dropped by 41% in OECD G20 economies and 49% in non-OECD G20 economies. The last decrease was experienced across the board, except in Indonesia, where FDI outflows grew by 33%. In 2020, the major sources of FDI worldwide was Luxembourg, United States, Japan, China. The latter two, while still remaining among the top foreign investing countries, saw their outflow decline in 2020. That's all for now. Thanks for watching. See you in the next video.